Hello, welcome to Innovation Dialogue. I'm Diana Ding, and today with Tony Xu, we're going to talk about how to create a documentary film, how to make a documentary film, and why we started the film Builders of Silicon Dream. Hi, Tony, how are you?
Hi, Diana. Hello, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Yes. First of all, we want to start with our nonprofit organization because this is how we started and this is why we started. As a founder of media and the grassroots media entrepreneur, Ding TV has been telling Asian American stories for the last 15 years. And during the pandemic, we started a video competition in time of COVID-19, which has a very good result feedback. And we feel like there were so many great content creators and so many great stories about our Asian Americans and the epidemic, the so many Asian hate crimes. We feel like people don't really understand us. So we want to invite our ethnic group to join us together to tell Asian American stories. We started this nonprofit organization, Silicon Valley Community Media, focus on telling Asian American stories in the grassroots level and in the professional level. In the grassroots level, we started this Asian American Stories video contest. And in the professional level, we work with Tony, a filmmaker, to produce the documentary film, Builders of Silicon Dream. So this is a project for our nonprofit organization. But before this idea actually came from Mr. Sandy Chow in 2021. And after we got this idea and we start to look for the professionals to produce this film. And after we talked with 5 people, and Tony is number 5 actually. Uh, we met Tony, and when we talked to Tony, uh, the time I met him is when he had his film Epidemic screening in San Francisco. So I was so touched by his film. I realized that he may be the one who knows the Asian culture and has a passion and did a research for the Asian hate. So I approached Tony and ends up, we really agree with one another. And we had a meeting, several meetings with Dr. Ken Fang. So we started this. Tony, you still remember how we started this?
Yeah, I do. We had quite a few meetings too, and you and your husband, you guys came down to Los Angeles. I still remember the breakfast we had. It was great. We had a great talk, and it was very inspiring. And at the time, I didn't know how this would develop, but I was very excited, and I'm glad that we, you know, are seeing the reward now.
Yeah, it's amazing. When we first started, it's because of your film, the Risk Epidemic. So when we first started this, and we had several meetings. I went to Los Angeles twice, attended your film screening, and we had a breakfast in a small coffee shop. Me and my husband at that time. After the meeting, I told my husband, I said, Tony is the one, and my husband asked me, why are you so sure? um, I told him, I said, when I look at a person, the 3 things. First one is if he really want, and I think he's the one that want. Another second is if he can, and I think that he can, he's capable. And third is if we can get along, if we can work together. And I feel like we can work together. Yes, yes. So Tony, actually, when we first started, you wrote a long story. You wrote several. I would call that the AC and articles describing after several meetings with Ken, with Kong, and with Darling Xu, and you wrote a long article describing what we want to do. You still remember that?
Yes, I do actually. And that's
Ourselves several
process.
questions.
Oh, okay. Yes. So yeah, that's is the process of making a documentary. Because as you know, when you make a movie, you write a script, and the script basically you know, has the actors read the lines, and you know, you talk about where you're gonna film it, where, and all the detailed location. But documentary is a little different because documentary is unscripted. It doesn't have a script. It's not gonna have a script and ask the people in your movie to read a script. So you have to come up with not a story, but more of a research of all the possible stories or possible scenarios you will have in your documentary. And then you go out and shoot that concept. And then you try to get the essence of the concept. But you do have to research a lot of the you know, subjects. And that, you know, what you just saw was what all the questions we ask and all the angles and perspective we have to look at to make this documentary more rounded and make sure the audience, you know, will get the full understanding of, you know, what it means to be in Silicon Valley and how Silicon Valley is important to the immigrants, and also these immigrants are important to Silicon Valley. That's very important. So that's, I hope this movie can kind of shed lights on that. And also, I think also very important thing is understanding the two different cultures, the East and West culture, and why is it important to understand this culture, and how Silicon Valley actually has its own culture that actually embrace that inclusiveness, you know, the East and West or whatever international culture into this innovative place. And that's the important part of Silicon Valley and why it's important to, you know, the immigrants who contribute to the Silicon Valley.
Yes, you know, we actually choose the 4 characters for the first episode, and each one of them have wonderful story and very touching story, I would say. And we scheduled the Zoom meeting and talking to each one of them, the families. Each meeting sometimes lasts a few hours. There are tremendous, touching, and amazing stories. But for Tony, when you heard so many stories, it's really hard for you to, you know, put together. So how do you, what at the beginning when you see this, and you kind of imagine what this film would look like, right?
Well, I can't say I can't imagine because I do have a certain you know expectation when I go into a film, and I'm confident enough after I talk to them that we will have a very interesting film, because the last thing I wanted to do is spend 1 or 2 years on a film that's going to come out and nobody wants to watch and not very engaging. So my uh my
Expect,
focus
yeah,
was all, sorry.
what's your expectation at that time?
Well, my expectation was always to get to know who they are, and if I can um, bring out what they are good at and why them, why not other person. So that was what I needed to find out, and what, you know, who they are and what they've been through. And if you look at all 4 of them, you know, I mean, they are very incredible individuals, incredibly successful. And also another thing that we don't see enough in the media is to show the innovative leadership of Asian Americans. And all 4 of them show that. And that was one of the main thing also I wanted to feature, how Asian American is not featured enough in the leadership role. So that was when I talk after I talked to them, in a way I become fans of them, and I really admire actually what they do and the risk that they took. So I wanted to show that part, and that part is never really been shown before in the media. So
Yes. And Tony, from the first storyboard you wrote and until now, almost 2 years, I feel like, there is some changes for our film, right? So we didn't really follow the storyboard, right?
Yes. And if you make enough film, that is the process. And and it's always changing, especially with documentary, because if you know documentary, the writing is really when you are editing, you're doing the writing for documentary. So it has changed a little bit, but the essence and the focus is always there. Is always about their contribution to Silicon Valley, and also how Silicon Valley's culture helped the immigrants to be able to contribute to a place. And that's the main idea of the film, actually. And in a way, we call it Silicon Dream. It's really sort of come from the term American dream, because that's what the American spirit is. American dream is inclusive, equality, and anyone who wants to work hard can come and make a successful life of themselves. And that's what Silicon Valley is really about.
Yes, exactly. So today we're talking about how the documentary film, The Builders of Silicon Dream, started. And you can tell that, this idea came out 2 years ago, and we find the right person and then putting the resource together. And Tony did a lot of research for this film before we actually started, and a lot of preparations and to make this happen. So we're going to continue talking about how to make a good documentary film, and see you next time.
Thank you.